Well, the mainstream media in the US is incredibly brazen about the agenda that they're pushing, and it's all come to a head in the past few weeks with Fox News firing Tucker Carlson. Now, I know you're a regular on Fox News, but is the legacy media in the US losing favour with the public?
Well, look, I mean, the Tucker Carlson situation is somewhat unique. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Tucker Carlson. I was on his show back in December, I think it was. I have met him numerous times, and I think what happened to Tucker is frankly terrible. And I'm very excited to see what comes next from him. Look, I mean, Fox News still, the last time I checked at least, still has by far the highest ratings of any cable news channel. Now, it's true that they've lost some viewers to Newsmax, which is another kind of right-of-center cable news channel that I'm also happy to go on as frequently as I can. But, at least prior to the firing of Tucker Carlson, Fox News completely dominated cable news relative to MSNBC and CNN, which were like dramatically lower. I mean, upwards of 50% lower, something like that, when it comes to kind of sheer ratings here. So, look, I mean, in general, if you kind of look to social media, if you go to Facebook, actually, at least here in the US, if you go to kind of the most trafficked Facebook pages based on publications, if I recall the last time I looked, I mean, you'll see some kind of, regime media, corporate media. You'll see New York Times, CNN. They're always kind of high on the list there. But you also will see some kind of conservative media outlets. So the Daily Wire is always very high in kind of the Facebook rankings. If I recall, the Daily Mail, which is obviously based out of the UK, but is certainly kind of right of center curious, you might say. The Daily Mail usually ranks quite highly there. So, yeah, I mean, I think in general, a lot of Americans in particular are kind of waking up to the game here. And they know that this whole situation stinks from top to bottom because, like I said, the ruling class in America, and when I say ruling class, I mean the Democratic Party for sure, but also kind of these more kind of neoliberal corporatist elements of the Republican Party elite. The ruling class is just totally in cahoots with regime media, and people are just thirsting at this point for alternative information, whether it's from Twitter, Rumble, or elsewhere.
Well, speaking of the ruling class, you mentioned Hunter Biden's, that the reason Hunter Biden is a person of interest to a variety of legal authorities, not least of which is the Internal Revenue Service, as well as some investigators looking into whether or not he lied on an application to buy a gun 5 years ago. Now, Josh, the rumour is that Hunter is hiding out in the White House. Now, the symbolism of that is, if it's true, is awfully shocking, don't you think?
So it's very odd, right? I mean, it's very unusual behavior. I mean, it's worth noting, to your point, that Joe Biden has gone out of his way. The president has gone out of his way as recently as earlier this week to say that, he has said, Hunter has done nothing wrong. I trust Hunter. He's a good man. I mean, look, it's a father-son relationship, so it's complicated, but it's probably inappropriate, right, for the president of the United States, who, after all, is the chief law enforcement officer, the chief executive of the entire executive branch. It is deeply irresponsible in a certain level, even kind of accounting for the father-son relationship, for him to say that when his son is literally under current investigation on different grounds for tax fraud. I think potential wire fraud. There's all sorts of kind of Second Amendment kind of gun allegations in there as well. And, at the same time, you have to recall there was actually a whistleblower. I mean, we had an IRS whistleblower here in the U.S. recently who went out and sought, I think, official kind of federal statute whistleblower protection because of what he saw in the IRS and the extent to which Hunter Biden was getting overly politicized, way too favorable treatment relative to what any other person who didn't have the last name Biden would have gotten in that position. So, you kind of take that as the context, and then you look at him, he's kind of cozying up in the White House, where his father is just saying, Hunter's a good man, he did nothing wrong. Yeah, I mean, it looks very, very bad, but it is just the latest reminder that, unfortunately, in the United States, and perhaps many other kind of Western countries, but it's certainly in the United States, at this point, we tragically have a two-tier system of justice where there is one set of rules for the ruling class. I mean, think back to Jim Comey and Hillary Clinton with the 33,000 emails on a private server in 2016. All of that. There is one set of rules for the ruling class in this country, and there is another set of rules for the deplorables, including, of course, former President Trump himself, as Alvin Bragg in New York City has reminded us about a month or so ago.